Hey, hello everyone, I'm David Guerrero and welcome back to another video here on Many Ways Films. In the video of today, I'm gonna be making a little comparison between what is a gimbal and a Steadicam. Both of them are what you can say affordable products. When it comes to gimbals and Steadicams, gimbals are gonna be significantly more expensive because they have electronics and motors. Both of them have pros and cons, and today I'm gonna be talking a little bit about those. Again, both of them are what you would say the affordable version of each kind. That doesn't mean that they're cheap or very affordable, but comparing it to the high end, they're pretty affordable. The first one is gonna be the Steadicam. I've had this one for about 2 years already, and I've used different types of cameras like the Nikon D5600, D7500. I used the D850, the C6, the C6 II, and I used the C-Cam, which it was pretty hard to use with the C-Cam, and it was really heavy to use with the D850. With the other cameras was okay. Even with the D5600, it was a little bit complicated, not because of the weight. Well, yes, because of the weight, because that camera was pretty lightweight. When it came to the D7500 and C6, I think they're pretty much about the same size. When setting it up, it can be a lot more complicated than setting up the gimbal. And there's a couple reasons for that, but even when you are experienced with both, I think it would still be a little bit more complicated when it comes to setting up the Steadicam. One of the advantages of the gimbal is that you don't have to balance it perfectly. If you do, it's gonna be really good. If it's slightly not perfectly balanced or more than slightly, you're gonna be alright because of the motors. The gimbal that I'm using for this video is the Weevil S, which have pretty strong motors, but they're not even the strongest, and I think that they can handle pretty well. Going back to the Steadicam, everything is manual. You're using just your hands for everything, and what I mean with your hands is that you're controlling everything, every single movement with your hands. So you're gonna have to get better tapping the Steadicam with your fingers, the way that you hold it, the way that you move, the way that you walk. Everything matters, as when you compare it to the gimbal, you have more freedom on the way that you walk, on the way that you move, how you hold it. When I was setting up the Steadicam, and I've had it for, like I said, 2 years, and I've set up many different cameras, I set it up from zero, so it took me 10 to 15 minutes to have it completely balanced how I would feel comfortable. It wasn't perfectly balanced. That's when I felt that it was okay, and I had already taken a really long time. The gimbal I haven't had for 6 months, and it took me like 5 minutes to have it all set up and going. You can see the difference where even that I've had the Steadicam for a longer time and just having the gimbal for a shorter period of time, it's still a lot easier to set it up. It might sound like I don't like the Steadicam, but I actually do. I like the natural movements that it gives. When it comes to following a subject, I think that it gives a little bit more of character, if that makes sense. When you're using the Steadicam, you can tell that it's like a robotic movement. So you have to get the sweet spot when you set up your gimbal on how to pan and tilt, so that when you're following someone and you want it to turn a little bit to the left or right or up and down, that it doesn't feel like a sudden movement, but it feels a little bit more smooth. And when it comes to the Steadicam, it's a little bit easier because you're just tapping a little bit. So I think they're about the same. Once you get used to it and once you learn how to use it, it's gonna be, or it's gonna give you a really smooth image, or when you're tracking a subject. The Steadicam, it's pretty heavy, even that it doesn't have all the weights that you can add. It just had the minimal amount of weight. Even without the camera, it's still pretty heavy when putting it side by side with the Steadicam. When you add the camera, it's a lot heavier. Both of them are heavy, but the Steadicam, it's a lot heavier, and all of the parts of the Steadicam are metal or some kind of metal. When with the gimbal, most of it's plastic. Doesn't mean that it's cheap, it's just a combination of different plastics, so it just makes it a little bit more lightweight. Overall, I want to say that when learning how to use each one of them, you're gonna get a pretty big improvement when it comes to a stable image. Both of them, I think, have different purposes. I don't think that you will be using a gimbal for every single shot, as I don't think that you would need to have a Steadicam for every single shot, as I don't believe that you need to be using one or the other every single time. I think that some shots will be looking better when you're using a tripod, when you're just doing handheld, or you're using any sort of shoulder mount. Each one of them have a different purpose. Each one of them give you a different shakiness or steadiness. If I had to give you my opinion, I'm gonna say that having a gimbal, it's a really big improvement. Like I said, there's pros and cons. It's just having to worry about batteries and electronics. When with a Steadicam or not having anything at all, you don't have to worry about those kind of things. I love the Weebill S. I don't think it's close to being the best gimbal ever, not even close. For the price, I think it's one of the best, if not the best one at that price. It's not perfect, but it does the job that I wanted to do. Most of the errors are user. I think having a more expensive one would make those problems go, if not easier. That's everything I had to say for the video of today. I hope that this was helpful in any way. If you have any questions about this, let me know. Thanks again for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.